You're live.
Oh, okay. Welcome to 0 to 60. Happy Monday. I'm your host, Matt McChesney. The 8th of January here, 2024. We are rolling. It is a huge day. We got a lot to talk about here this morning as we get into the NFL, college football, as we get into the national championship game tonight, which is littered with Dudgeon family. And of course, the Broncos putting an end to a interesting season, to say the least. Where do they go from here? Do they break it down to build it back up? Or are they still going to go out and put a Band-Aid over the quarterback position? How are they going to move forward here in the offseason? In my opinion, we'll see. But as always, this is brought to you by our good friends at Bet Online. Whether you're, a first-time bettor or an experienced bettor, Bet Online has everything that you need, from your news to your wagering news to all of your information that'll help you make good, consistent bets where you win. You can get a 50% bonus back on your first deposit using the Believe promo code. That's BLEAV. So make sure you use that promo code. You'll get a 50% bonus back. And whether it's the UFC or the playoff games here in the NFL, or tonight's national title game, or moving into the NBA and college basketball, March Madness, just make sure that you're betting responsibly and using our good friends at Bet Online, who are our title sponsor here, to get things rolling. So as we jump into this, Bree's going to fire some questions here from the background, and I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability, I guess. And if you have any questions here in the comments section, make sure that you jump in and let us hear what you have to say on this Monday. So let's get rolling here, talking about your Denver Broncos. And look,
you said interesting, Matt. Do you think VJ keeps his job as the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I don't think he was a problem. If you want to sit here and point fingers, and that's what happens on Black Monday, and that's what it is. People lose their jobs today, and Russell Wilson, whether he gets cut today or not, he's not going to get cut today, but he damn sure lost his job. I think he's the scapegoat that is, right, wrong, or indifferent. Vance definitely was not the problem, unless he wants to get a head job. I mean, VJ getting another head coaching opportunity right now doesn't seem to fit. I haven't heard any of that, but I think he probably keeps his job. I don't think there's going to be a lot of turnover in the coaching staff, honestly. I don't think Sean Payton thinks that the coaches are the problem. And so, look, are the coaches the problem? I guess there's a question for anybody that's watching the show this morning. Is, I think the Broncos have a talent issue at certain positions, yet they've got, they're going to have 30% roster turnover. But when you talk about like the big positions of, do we have guys that can consistently rush the passer, and then, force change in the secondary on defense, which we damn sure have the secondary players in Surtain and Justin Simmons. But, the pass rushers were inconsistent this year, yet they were banged up. But when they're on the field, Benito looks like he's explosive, and Browning looks pretty good. And, Agent Zero looks like he's got some pop, and Zach Allen had a good year. So the defense, I think, has a lot of things that they can hang their hat on and be proud about. But how many years, can you have consistently good playoff caliber defense in Denver and continue to struggle like this, even with the $250 million Band-Aid? I mean, they went out and tried to solve the problem of Russell Wilson in the quarterback position. Speaking about that, they went out and tried to solve the problem by giving a bona fide Hall of Famer at that time a huge contract to bring him in, where the Broncos were the talk of the town. People were talking about them making the Super Bowl and yada, yada, yada. And, that obviously didn't work. So I think if you're looking for change, it's going to be more on the offensive side of the ball than defense, unless there's guys that are going to start forcing their way out. Like, does Simmons want to really stay here, moving forward as another Pro Bowl under his belt? Is Surtain going to be a guy that wants to resign? If he doesn't, you might have to ship him, which sounds like blasphemy, but you've got to accumulate picks to try and change the flow of this stream here as we move forward.
It is blasphemy, but if the coaching staff is safe around the league, there's already been changes here on Black Monday. You've got Smith out. You've got Rivera out. Shockingly, the Jets have made no movement there. Do you think they run it back with Saleh and Hackett? But also, who do you think's next down the pike? Are there more changes coming? Is McCarthy safe? The Cowboys have turned things around, but has it been enough? Are they happy with the output there? Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick. There's question marks that are in the air. Do you see anything that seems impending?
Well, look, Arthur Smith yesterday had every right to get as mad as he got. Not only did he know he was losing his job, which I can only imagine what it's like, walking in knowing you're going to get fired just with one day left as a coach. The authority there doesn't really play out very well, and his team got hammered. But look, being a coach, there's a lot that goes with it that's awesome. They get paid a lot. But it is a terrible lifestyle on you and your family, and you're constantly moving, and it's really stressful, and you're always losing a job to get another job. Every job that you get, there's very rarely do you hear a coach say like, oh, I'm so glad I got this job. I really want to retire here, because they know that the minute you get the job, you're going to get fired from it eventually. That's just the way coaching goes. So, those two guys getting shipped makes sense. Both the teams were not very good, and Atlanta's been 7-10 for 3 straight years under Smith. And Smith is, look, that guy is the heir to the FedEx fortune as well. So that Arthur Smith loves ball if he is the heir to the FedEx fortune. He doesn't need to work. He's doing it because he likes it. And I think he's a hell of a coach. He'll be a good OC somewhere else, probably get another opportunity. Again, you give Atlanta a quarterback, and I think that they are probably winning that division. So
who's that quarterback? Do you think it's Russell Wilson?
It could be. I mean, Russ could go to Atlanta and be a good fit for them. It could be, think about like if Howell was in Atlanta instead of being in Washington. So, pretty much the exact opposite is that they don't have the players around Howell to do anything significant, where Howell was in Atlanta. All he's got is players without a quarterback. So situation is such a huge part of this. And talking about like coaches getting fired moving forward, I think there's more opportunity for guys like, look, Belichick is probably going to move from what we're hearing. I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid, but if he ends up moving and all of a sudden that job opens, he is a massive domino that's going to fall. Now, how much longer does he want to do it? I don't think Bill Belichick is kind of like Vic Fangio, where I don't think they have anything but coaching. So when you say like, fucking meatballs, when you say to these guys, you should retire, like go relax and sit on your boat and shit, he's like, well, with who? Like, I'm married to the game. That's what they are. So I think Belichick could coach for another 10 years if he wanted to. I don't think that that's really much of an issue. It's who wants to give the reins to him. He needs to go somewhere with a quarterback, and that because he can pick
responsibilities.
I don't think he'll go anywhere without GM responsibilities. Why would he? Like, if you won't give me you're going to hamstring Bill Belichick and like say that, yeah, we're going to pick your team. He's not going to go for that. There's no way in hell. So I think Belichick, that's a huge domino. We'll see when it falls. But if, let's say, Buffalo loses to Pittsburgh, okay, and Mason Rudolph goes out and pulls a rabbit out of his ass and plays crazy, and TJ Watt comes off of a knee injury and has 4 sacks, and somehow they go to Buffalo and win, and Josh Allen shits on himself and doesn't play well. I think that McDermott is gone in Buffalo, and they're going to be looking for a new voice there. So, that's a game where you could see a big-time coach with a winning record get axed after a playoff loss. When you look at the other side of it in the NFC, if Green Bay goes to Dallas and beats Mike McCarthy, he's gone. That's an unexcusable loss. And Green Bay is no slouch. Jordan Love is second in the league in touchdown passes, and they've been really figuring out they can really run.
I feel like you're saying everything I've been saying. Sounds smart.
Yeah, I'm a pretty smart guy. I've got my moments at times. And I listen to you a lot too, so that helps me be smart. That other than that, I don't think there's anybody that's really out there that's going to lose their job. I mean, Todd Bowles, they're not expected to win that game at home. Although Tampa and Philly, man, I mean, since we're talking about the playoffs, we might as well just get into this. That game, Philadelphia is not playing well, and Tampa Bay's got a fucking gunslinger at quarterback that can just, again, pull a game out of his ass every now and then. It has won in the playoffs before, and arguably Cleveland should have beat Kansas City in that divisional game when they did play there with Baker as the quarterback. I think the refs kind of gifted that one to the Chiefs. So, I mean, I like the playoff matchups. Again, let's go over them if you don't know. In the AFC, Baltimore is the 1 seed. The 2-7 game is Buffalo, Pittsburgh. The 3-6 is Miami and Kansas City. And the 4-5 is Houston and Cleveland. And in the NFC, San Francisco gets the 1. Dallas and Green Bay are 2-7. Detroit and LA, that's a great game. The Stafford Bowl there in Detroit. Goff has a lot to prove in that game. Detroit and the Rams are the 3-6. And then Tampa hosts the Eagles in the 4-5. These games are all over the place from Fox to NBC and on fucking Peacock. There's 2 games on Peacock, so now I have to download the cock to get a fucking football game. I didn't think that was ever going to happen, but hey, there's going to be a lot of cock watching this weekend. Bam! So, when all these games are good, Miami is kind of falling off of a cliff here. They're the AFC version of the Eagles. Their gift for making the playoffs is going to Arrowhead. And playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, who I'll tell you, Chris Jones got that bonus yesterday, and he started walling out. That's a $1.25 million sack. That's a big sack.
Thank you, Easton.
That's a big ass sack. So that was pretty cool to see him walling out and having fun. But
are the Eagles cursed?
Far from cursed. The Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah. Now you got Hurts with a finger injury.
They're far from cursed. They were in the Super Bowl last year and have won a Super Bowl in the last 5 years. That's far from cursed. But
I mean this year in general.
Look, they're predictable. All right. So when you put the same thing on tape over and over and over again, people eventually figure you out. They get a book on you. And now Jalen Hurts they got to redefine the way they're doing things. If you're not self-scouting in the NFL as much as you can, as much as humanly possible, you're going to lose a lot of football games because eventually they're going to figure your ass out. That's why you see so many flash in the pan type players, coaches, and franchises. Like one great year, and then all of a sudden the next year, like, well, why can't we figure this shit out? Well, look at like the Giants 2 years ago. They're 10, 11, and 5. They're balling. Brian Dable comes in. He's got Danny Dimes playing at a high level. When the season's over,
you give him $40 million.
You give him $45 million. A fucking disaster. They won a playoff game though, and then you give everybody in the offseason an opportunity to study you, and they start breaking down what you can't do, and find out that your offensive line can't really play. And then they assault the shit out of you at the beginning of the year, and the Giants are 5-11 again. So, there's a lot of opportunity to be a flash in the pan coach player. There's very few opportunities that actually come to fruition when you talk about greatness. And that's why established greatness with me is so high on the level when you talk about like even guys like Stafford. Like there's a lot of people, yourself included, who don't think he's a Hall of Famer. And I think he is. And there's a huge argument to say he's not. Like Russell Wilson, his numbers say he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he is. I just don't. Before he came to Denver, I did. Now that he was here, don't think he is. So, it's the playoffs are where you make legacy, and getting into the tournament is special and it's hard. I made the playoffs twice in my career. We got boat raced in both games against Patriots and the Ravens. So you got to take these opportunities when you can get them. They are few and far between. If we're going to sit here and pick, who's going to win what, that from a Super Bowl perspective, I'll give you that pick at the very end of it. But I'll take Buffalo over Pittsburgh this week. I think Miami's going to go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs.
Yes.
And I just think Kansas City is really overrated. Miami's going to be pissed off in that game. And then I'm going to take the Turds over Houston, even though I think C.J. Stroud's a great player. Cleveland's already did it. They won there on Christmas Eve, but C.J. Stroud didn't play. That's going to be a high-flying football game. I'm riding with Cleveland. On the other side, I'm going to take the Cowboys over the Packers. I'm going to take the Lions over the Rams because I think Goff is going to be equally as motivated as Stafford. Stafford's going back to Detroit, and they'll high five him and pat him on the back. But I think Detroit's just a better football team. And I'm going to take the upset. I'm going to take Tampa over Philly at home. And then if you want to talk about who you think is going to make the Super Bowl, we haven't talked about Baltimore, San Francisco, the 2-1 seeds. I think the Super Bowl this year is going to be Cleveland versus Detroit. And I know that sounds disgusting, but I'm dead serious. I think Cleveland and Detroit are going to play for the Super Bowl. You could have a situation where Joe Flacco wins the Super Bowl title and doesn't come back to play for the team the next year, very similar to a Trent Dilfer. And I can't believe I just said that shit. Yeah. I cannot fucking believe what I just said.
It feels like you're taking crazy.
It's disgusting.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's disgusting. It makes no sense.
Dante said Josh Allen is a hype job. 2 picks in the red zone. I agree with Dante.
I love Josh Allen too.
I know you do. It's a little ridiculous. And he also said, I would love Fields in Atlanta. There's going to be a quarterback shuffle in the NFL. Let's look into the future. How many quarterbacks are here to shift? You already mentioned one. Joe Flacco could do something big and be riding off into the sunset. Aaron Rodgers comes back, and then you've got a melee in New York with the Jets. Fields may not stay in Chicago. And Russell Wilson is going to go elsewhere. What happens with this shuffle?
And look, Fields, the number 1 pick in Chicago, both of them at the same time. The question is, do you trade the number 1 pick and get 3 picks in the first round potentially and fortify around Justin Fields, which is what I think they should do? Or do you go out and take a waiver on Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick? And I feel like Williams and Fields are the same guy. Caleb Williams is going to go to Chicago, and I don't see him going out there and being this. I think he's a great player, yes, but I also think he's kind of a hype job. And I have a feeling he's going to go to the NFL and not be as good as people think he is. And I'm not saying he can't be a traditional passer. There's nothing traditional about him. I don't need him to be that guy in order to be successful. I'm just saying, like, going to Chicago, they're pretty hard on quarterbacks there. They've never had one throw 4,000 yards before. It's outside. It's in the weather. The fans are ruthless. And he doesn't like hard. Caleb Williams doesn't like hard. He wants things easy. He hates things when they're hard. So if it's hard, Caleb Williams doesn't like it. And Chicago's a hard place for hard dudes. And, it's a blue-collar town, and there ain't nothing blue-collar about Caleb Williams. So I think Fields has done a pretty good job. They're going to bring back Eberflus as the head coach there. So I think that they should keep Fields and then maybe trade the number 1 pick out and see if they can get 3 first-rounders, get Marvin Harrison Jr., trade back to 3 and draft him, draft the best offensive lineman on the board. The big tackle from Penn State seems to be generational. And then with your 3rd pick, go get another pass rusher and put another pass rusher on the other side of Montez Sweat and see what you got. And then all of a sudden you're competing in an ultra competitive division with Love, and a young Green Bay team that's really, really good, and Goff and Detroit, who just won the division for the first time in 30 years, and Minnesota, who's coming off of a division title last year, who's going to be replacing their quarterback as well. So, it's if you're the Broncos, don't be shocked if Kirk Cousins is in rectified orange and blue next year as they're getting new uniforms.
I don't know if they can afford Cousins, but that would be my actual top pick here. Let's move on to some college football, because obviously the championship game is tonight, and both quarterbacks could be in the eye of the Denver Broncos regime as they look to draft somebody. Joey B says, Matt, you got some kids on Michigan and Washington tonight, correct?
Yeah, I do. We posted a bunch of stuff about this throughout the week at 60 Academy on all the different platforms. We were on TikTok live this morning again and got banned again. I didn't even say anything. I didn't say anything. I was just coaching. Didn't say shit. People are just really sensitive out there. They don't like to watch people work. But go there and follow it all. Obviously, everything. I was on Coach JB's show talking about this. We got Drake Nugent and Roger Rosengarten and Connor Jones and Reese Atterbury and Gentry and all these other cats that are from Colorado. Zach Henning, the big offensive lineman from Grandview, who early enrolled. There's a reason these 2 offensive lines are as good as they are, and there's a lot of Colorado meat on both. And there's one thing about this state is we can produce some linemen, and I'm one of them. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that all these kids have gone through the program at 6-0 and done such a good job. And I don't know if I could be more excited about a college football game that I'm not playing in and the Buffs aren't playing in. I mean, this is as good of an opportunity to watch some people ball out that you care about as I'm going to get. So, yeah, it is. It's personal. And I like Michigan tonight. I think Michigan's going to beat Washington, although I think Washington is an unbelievably good football team. I would not be shocked at all if they win the game. Penix Jr. is that guy. That's who I want the Broncos to identify and go after. If they can't get him, maybe it's Hartman. That guy wears his own bone around his neck, which is pretty hardcore. And then Bone. I like Bo Nix. I think he could be a good second, third round pick. But when you're looking for a game changer that can really lace the rock and just put it wherever he wants, it seems like Michael Penix Jr. is that guy. I know he's got some injury concerns, but I mean, who doesn't? It's football. And you can get a guy on a rookie deal and try and win some football games and build around him instead of constantly trying to just, fortify and Band-Aid up a position with money, and mortar that just has no future here with the Denver Broncos. So, everything plays back into itself as college feeds the NFL. But I think there's a ton of draft picks out there on the field potentially for the Broncos. Or who are they going to re-sign? Are they going to re-sign Quinn or are they going to re-sign Cush? Who do you think, Bree? If you had to just pick Quinn or Cush, who would you take?
Cushenberry has shown so much improvement year over year, and I think it's really important to have the sustainability at center, but I'd have to go Quinn.
Yeah, me too.
Just because I think he's a top 5 guard now in the NFL. We were predicting top 10. He catapulted his way up. The offensive line has shown a huge amount of success there thanks to Zach Strief. And so I would think Quinn has to be the one that you keep. And if it's between the two of them, you've made a really messy situation of your cap, and that's on the Broncos to figure it out.
And then, you can't resign both. So you got to take one, and I would take Quinn as well. And then looking back full circle, a kid like Drake Nugent, when you're the Broncos and you have multiple picks and you're looking for a new center, well, there's one from Highlands Ranch that's starting in the national title game tonight that plays center for Michigan. So this is kind of how this entire run around works here in this game. Is you never really know where you're going to fit. A year ago, I'm sitting there in my office with Drake and his dad Terry talking about fits and where he wants to transfer to. Actually, he just graduated from Stanford and gave them 3 years of starting. And you've earned the opportunity to grad transfer and go somewhere and make a little bit of NIL money and go. And he said, look, I want to go somewhere where it means something and I want to play big time college football games. And brother, that's why we picked up the phone and called Coach Moore, and that's why you're there. So, that it's manifestation's huge. I believe in it. I think that the more you can talk about something, the more you think about it, the more that you can, try and put things in action, the more they will happen for you. And this is just another example of that. So, this college football game tonight is going to be an absolute just barn burner. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes into overtime. I don't know what the over-under is, but I would take the over. I think there's going to be some points scored. Those receivers for Washington can really run, and Michigan is just so fucking tough up front, and they can run the ball just at you just the entire game. Washington is good on the defensive line, but that's the one thing where I think Michigan's got some holes in their secondary. I think Washington has some holes in their defensive line, and both will be exploited this evening by an elite running game, and then on the other side by an elite quarterback. So it's either coming down to who's got the ball last or an overtime game. And honestly, the more college football you can give me tonight, the better, because it's over after this evening, and we'll be looking at 2024 and the Buffs in the Big 12 and the off season and development and getting ready to go, climb this hill again as we've reached the mountaintop this evening. So.
We're both going for Wolverines in the championship, just in time for Jim Harbaugh to move to the Raiders. I kid, but not really. We've got a question here from Brady B. There is heightened rumors, and the heat's picking up there with Jim Leonhard coming over as the defensive coordinator for CU. Have you heard those? What do you think about those? What direction do you think they're going in?
I'd be cool with that. We had Brian Howell on the other day about Coach Kelly going to Auburn and not being the defensive coordinator here anymore. Jim Leonhard did a great job at Wisconsin for years. Was good as the intern coach there as well, played a lot of ball, was a walk-on that earned his way into Wisconsin and became an unbelievably good player for them. Played a lot of ball in the NFL, has been around a lot of different looks, and knows what consistently good ass-kicking defense looks like. I'm surprised he didn't get the head job at Wisconsin with what he did there, being an ex-Badger and having as much support as he had. But obviously they wanted to go with Fickle. Jim's been out of a job for a year, and I think it could be a good fit. He's the kind of guy that will not only hit the recruiting, road with his feet on the ground, ready to go, but he's a developmental coach. Like, he's not afraid to, find a kid, maybe that doesn't have all the stars and accolades and really develop the shit out of that. And I think that's another thing that CU needs too, not just getting the great players, which they are getting, but also developing some of the, 2- and 3-star kids that it takes to build a consistent program. And he could help a lot with that. So, yeah, I mean, if you're not going to go with Mike Zimmer and you're not going to go find an NFL guy to run your defense, I think Jim Leonard could be a really good fit. He's a hell of a coach.
Awesome. Roberto Del Villar asks, and I think we'll kind of end on the show if there's not any other questions, but wanted to know exactly or what you want to tell the people that the 6-0 program actually consists of. If you want to give a little commercial here. So
the 6-0 is an investment in the individual kid. When he comes into the program, and the football academy is very simple. It's, it doesn't really matter what sport you play. Are you here to earn it, or are you here to buy it? And I don't think you can buy anything, and we live in Hobby Town where there's kids who like sports, but I don't know if they need them. And I'm looking for the guys who need it. And, this is a very cutthroat business, and college football, the transfer portal and everything that it entails requires some tough eggs, or you're going to get cracked for sure. So, 6-0 has been open for going on 15 years now. We've placed over 500 players. We've got multiple guys in the NFL, multiple guys in college football. Just, it seems that every game I turn on, I'm watching another one of the guys I work with. And, it's just a place where real football guys can go and have a home. So, it's different than a 24-hour. It's definitely not a fucking spin class gym. There's no soccer moms in there, there's no yoga pants in there and shit. Although some of the shorts these kids wear are aggressively short, there's very few yoga pants. So, it's a place where we're about work, and the state of Colorado at times is not. So, it's a very contentious environment if you're not about it. I'll tell you that. If you walk in there fucking around and you're not really about it, we're going to find out about you quick. So if that answers your question, then cool.
I think it does. I don't know. Roberto will let us know if it doesn't. Any parting words for the listeners today? Plans for this week?
Look, it's going to be a great week of shows. We're going to try and just react to everything we got going on here. The playoff docket coming up here Saturday on the Cock on NBC and on Fox. Oh, I know you're going to love that part. That there's great games coming up all weekend, and then we'll react to obviously the national title game tonight, and hopefully get a couple of guys from the winning team on the show here to talk about their run to an undefeated season, as whoever wins tonight is a 15-0 national champion. So, lots to discuss this weekend. I'm excited to be back. Remember to follow us. Everyone follow Bree at Bree Maces 303, and then follow your boy here at 6-0 Academy on all 3 different platforms. So we really appreciate you guys, and let's go blue. And then, going to be a great week of shows, so don't go anywhere.
All right. Brought to you by Bet Online. We'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.